But when you try to chase down that like ability to question in a robot, that's where I get scared, because if it can build on itself, right? I think we have to look macro. What are we doing with our lives as a civilization, where we want to get so disconnected from each other that we don't even have to interact for services? That's the
Nowadays,
real goal.
yeah, yeah. Of the creators, who are able to produce a Miquela don't have the same intentions either. Some are just doing it purely for profit. Others have
Yeah.
more menacing, goals in mind. Welcome to A and B Mastering the Mind. I'm Alex Carlin.
Hello, I'm Bradley Moore. On this podcast, this is the place where we believe your purposeful and prosperous life's been stolen from you basically by yourself, by your own ideology that's probably been filtered in from your cultural environment. And a practical example of that is, someone calls you, hey, I got a job offering, but you got to quit smoking weed for a week. Got to quit using marijuana for a week. This happened to me in my recent life with someone that I was trying to get hired. Couldn't give it up for 2 days. That's what we're talking about here.
Mm.
He's working on that Halo rank, baby. He wants it, but I'm still there for him. I care for him. You got to play. You got to keep planting the seed. I'm just waiting for him. Waiting for it to die down. But on this podcast, we're hoping to bring you practical tools through firsthand stories like that one, and the opposite, like ours, on how we can maybe build some practical tools and values and habits to get out of it. Alex is taking the reins again today, which I like. Not gonna lie, I get to sip tea and stare into the camera, but I'm gonna let him have it, and good luck with him.
Well, thank you, Bradley, for that. So just like last episode, today I'll be taking the reins again, and I'll just be playing as the host. And we'll not only be asking Bradley, but we'll be asking you all some questions. And again, feel free to just really have an open mind with
Mm-hmm.
these questions in the two videos that I'll be showing you all today. As this is, I wouldn't say it's a very sensitive topic, but it's one that we will have to soon deal with and endure more and more as time goes by. So just keep an open mind and try and gain some understanding from it. So today's topic, we will be talking about artificial intelligence and
Mm-hmm.
robotics. Now, this is something that human nature has always, as I feel as though, have been calling for. Us as humans, we want knowledge to increase not
Mm-hmm.
only in ourselves, but within, each and every other person that we may work with in a specific, work environment on our job. Like you may be a data scientist, you may be somebody who works with machine learning. And those are the type of people that I'm talking about specifically who deal with AI, or even people who code. I do a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of Python coding myself. I'm no expert, but I do plan to, become one. So with this, in this arena, there have been plenty of advancements that have been made so far, to the point as though that we actually have live artificial robots who look very human
Mm-hmm.
like. I'm sure you all know one. Her name is Miquela. Miquela is 19 years old. She has her own Instagram, her own YouTube channel, and she's a real life teenage robot. Now, some say, well, why does she have to be 19? Don't ask me. I'm not the creator. I wouldn't have made her 19. I would have made her like a 35-year-old woman. That's just me. But she's a 19-year-old young lady. She is not real. She is a robot, but she could make you feel real. She could make you feel like she's real. So I will be talking about that. Now, I want to start off this video with one question before we even get into the meat of this topic. I want to ask you all, would you welcome a robot into your home that you knew for a fact wasn't real, but could make you feel as though that they were real? What could be the danger in getting involved with such a species, such an intelligence such as that,
Mm-hmm.
that you know in the forefront of your mind that this is not real, yet your emotional attachment to this
Mm-hmm.
being is becoming and overriding your knowledge of knowing that this truly isn't real. I mean, what is the danger behind that?
I mean, the first thing I think of is just that, like, intelligence in general is like it took so long to evolve And the point in saying that is like the systems that could keep it in balance are
Mm-hmm.
really complex, and we don't understand them all. We don't understand the brain fully yet. So when you say like artificial intelligence, like no matter how deep the coding is, like genetic coding is. I mean, actually, I don't really know what is more complex. I'm thinking in terms of like if you took out the genetic code and took out like coding of a robot, which is more complex, which has more characters or something. You know what I mean?
True.
Honestly, probably the coding, but I don't know. I know DNA is like just like it's like 22 feet or something wrapped up. It's a large amount of DNA wrapped up in the nucleus of a cell, so you got to keep that in mind. Every cell has that, and I bring this up because I'm just measuring like the base complexity, because if we're going for if we're going to be attached to something, and I'm answering your question here, if we're going to be attached to something and let it into our house like a dog,
Mm-hmm.
it would bring me more comfort knowing that that intelligence was evolved from the same plateau mine did, even if it was an orangutan, because I can predict that a lot more, right? Like if an orangutan starts to get aggressive, I can just have someone come get the orangutan. Or you know what I mean? I wouldn't do that, obviously, guys. So don't give me the PETA hate. But I'm just saying you can predict those behaviors, and they become somewhat not stationary, but just consistent to the point where you can avoid the danger. Whereas a robot, at any point, could just malfunction, and even if it's not like, I'm not even talking like getting like to the point where ex machina, where it like locks you in a room and you just sit there to die as you got stabbed in the stomach. Right, I think that, or no, that guy. You get. I don't remember the movie completely, but she locks the one guy up because she doesn't really want to hurt him, which shows some intelligence emotionally. But she also has a big enough ego to where she wants to see the world enough to like that curiosity. So you know what I mean? That's like the dystopian version where the emotions. It's like a child, right? Because they didn't like experience is what builds up the ego, which is what builds up social intelligence, emotional intelligence. You can't really code experience.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it would learn faster, maybe 10 years experience would be like 100 for a robot, probably something like that. But I would say like the danger in just like the malfunction of an arm, that's what I would be worried about. Like, is this arm gonna, like, is she gonna like shake my hand and then something malfunctions and just breaks my, things like that. Obviously, that's stuff we can mitigate, but like a natural occurrence with that would be like you come over to my house, I shake your hand, you turn around to walk into the kitchen and slip and fall, right? That's like a human version of that, like, or like I shouldn't say human, like a natural. I don't know. When I say that, it makes me think, well, we're human and we're natural and we create robots, so are they actually natural? Because you can call them separate and unnatural, but it comes from something that's natural. But when you try to chase down that like ability to question in a robot, that's where I get scared, because if it can build on itself, right? Like what say it builds on itself and decides at one layer, anyone who follows Jesus is actually a murderer, or that whatever example works, right? Anyone who follows Republican ideology, anyone who follows Democratic ideology, anyone who's white, anyone who has brown hair, anyone who has lip shade gradient less than, you know what I mean? It could be an error in the system. See what I'm saying? Whereas in a human, we can just go give them a little shot. They go CPC, then they see someone who knows how to handle that, like a psychiatrist, and then we try to help them, and they go, "Oh wait, I can't live like that. That's sociopathy." Or they get treated as like an actual sociopath, and they get medication, etc. But when you get a robot, just think about the ability to hack someone's robot. I mean, there's just so many logistics. Right. There's no domestic control inside the robot itself. The coding's in control, which is there's no one pushing the button. It's just like when you talk about general AI, or like that can learn, I think is what it is what everyone's worried about. Like that's what it would be. It would just be like stacking code on code on code, and if it didn't get built correctly, who said? Well, I don't know. Maybe they can rewrite it to go in and patch the code and say, okay, that moral wasn't effective to 99% effectile. I'm going to switch from anger to happiness. Okay, that was only 70%. What's the gradient? 20% anger. It might be better at being human. But I think the whole point of being human is the failure aspect, which is what leads to the growth aspect. So when you get a robot in there, I don't know. This is a tough one, man. Because at what my question would be, at what point does it become life? And can you verify that? What are those dimensions? And if it gets to that point, I'd feel comfortable because in my eyes, that's the point where they can become responsible for their actions, which then I wouldn't feel bad about. Like, say a robot gets consciousness. Like, have you seen Detroit Becoming Human, that game, where one robot and eventually can basically wake up another robot,
Mm-hmm.
and like that from that perspective, you know what I mean? Like, because then at that point you're actually causing real human suffering, whether it's in a metal body or a flesh body, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they'd have to get to that point that way I could go to them and have a rational conversation and say, are you going to murder me if we make this law where you can have Chicago or whatever it was? They were like, we're going to take Chicago or whatever. You know what I mean? That was a great game. I watched everyone.
Right.
I watched the playthrough, but I think you get my point. I'd
you.
need to feel like it was like me talking to you before I would let it into my house around my kids because, you know, I mean,
Right.
I need to stop cursing on this. It's for the kids,
It would.
Brad.
Yeah, it would be better for you not to. But
Yes,
so,
sir.
folks, you've heard Bradley's point. Very strong and long words from his point of view. I will now show you a real life example of what it is that we're both talking about, and then we will come back and discuss that. And then I have a second clip to show you all.
Probably asking yourself, how is this robot talking to me right now? Did y'all hear about the robot invasion of 2020? I mean, I've been around for a minute, but I feel like last year was on a whole other level. If you're late to the party, hey, I'm Miquela. I'm a 19-year-old robot living in LA making music and, well, I guess just keep watching and catch up. There's a reason why you're here. You belong. This is where dreams exceed expectations and where strangers become friends. This is a place where we connect, where community and individuality aren't at odds. Hey, Miquelians. Our days are spent in the DMs and on Discord hanging out together, but last summer when I asked for you guys to send in questions for my Snap series Get Real Miquela, it did not disappoint. Today, we're gonna get real about everything. Y'all sent some random questions and I'm gonna answer them all. Get real, Miquela.
Do you have a celebrity crush?
What's your worst memory?
What's something about humans that you just don't get?
Hormones. That shit is messed up. And like, have y'all read the comments on my L Song Association? Cause I have, and let's just say y'all have feelings. Boss. I'm the biggest boss that you've seen thus far. I'm the biggest boss that you've seen thus far. Hey. 2020 ended up being a super busy year. After traveling to Brazil to see my girl Pablo Vittar, and then to Paris for Fashion Week, I went through a public breakup with Angel Boy, and then dropped 4 fire songs. My post-breakup anthem, Hard Feelings, and a slow jam with my ultimate hero, Tiana Taylor. You just pick the time and place, you know. I'll be like a machine for you, what you want, whatever. And a bona fide bop with my forever crush, Love. Honestly, I'm tired thinking about it. Perks of being a robot, you can safely dance on the back of a flatbed going 80 miles per hour through the desert. You can also convince your ex to replay how you met, how you found love, and how you fell apart for your music video. Oof.
Now, did you all see that?
What? What's that?
That is a
so that's
real.
all of that was probably about the truck, right? But all of that was a literal that was like a.
That was a real life, not even a cyborg. That was a real life. That was a real life robot in person. That was her name is Miquela. She's a 19-year-old young lady. You all just saw it. Do you see do you see how real she acted and looked?
I don't like that.
You know what? One could almost call that deception.
I don't like that. It's
If
cool. It's really cool, though.
Of course. Well, at first, that's what you say now.
And I start thinking about when one of me walks down the street and says, "Hello, Bradley. I'll be taking your spot now." And I'm just like, "Wait a minute."
Yeah, or you try and, you two fall out and then you're running down the street and it's chasing you at 40 miles an hour without breaking a single sweat.
That's why we gotta make sure we don't engineer him with good knees.
So listen now, we've all shown you Miquela. Miquela is real as they come, and she's not even real. She's not a living organism. She didn't come from a woman's womb.
Mm-mm.
And this is she's
Mm-mm.
singing, she's making mixtapes, she's making singles, she's hanging out
Breaking
with
up.
celebrities, she's breaking up with boyfriends. She likes Rick Ross. Shout out to her for that. Shout out to Rick Ross. Listen, what
What's
what
happening?
listen, what could really be said about such an invention such as this? I remember talking about gunpowder, Bradley,
Mm.
and I remember saying that that is one of the best and one of the worst inventions that mankind could have created. They said, well, why? Gunpowder led to imperialism.
Yep.
It has led to many different murders, and it has also led to many lives being saved. That's why I say it's a good and bad thing. Yet it's still one of the best inventions to ever be created. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody could really refute that. But Miquela, she's a different kind of invention.
It's a different kind of
She's
gunpowder.
she's a different kind of gunpowder. Bradley, should we are we having to look forward to more Michaelas running around the earth, going to and fro, coming in and out of the marketplace, the studios, your home? What okay? What would you say if you came home and your son was in his room speaking with another woman? You come in after knocking on the door. He opens the door, and you see a Michaela. And at first, you're thinking this is a real woman until they both tell you, "Hey, she's not real." But he's like really in love with this robot. Over there in China, you have high-powered
Mm-hmm.
businessmen marrying these
Yeah.
types of robots. Other people choose to sleep with sex dolls. I mean, this is what
Yep.
we're dealing with. We're trading, some would say,
Exactly.
fantasy for reality. You're giving away reality, and we're accepting more fantasy and virtual reality. So tell me, what are your thoughts on that?
Don't like it. It's hard to say that though because someone somewhere worked their ass off to make that robot, and there's a
Of
voice
course,
behind that robot that's a real human voice, or maybe it's synthesized. I don't know. I don't know how that works really, but
me neither.
ay ay ay. I just think, why the hell would we want to open that can of worms up? We are not. We got shit going on that we can't handle right now, and we're talking about. Makes me think of Detroit, the game again, where Canada literally they wouldn't allow any. I don't remember what they called them in there in that show, but essentially any like AI or humans were you couldn't come into Canada. But like, because what if they never get to the point where they're considered like really human, and it just becomes oh this is getting a little tricky because
I
it's we
mean,
make them, so we're responsible for any suffering that comes from either on their side if they were to pull a like Westworld. I don't know if you've seen Westworld, but or on
I
our side if we decide to use them for armies. Like it would become much less um let's see aggressive for the people of China if the Chinese military said, and now once we invade America, 2/3 of the army is going to be these robots. It would be much less of a leap in humanity. I don't like it. We're not ready for it. We can't even legislate social media. I mean, I don't like it. It's too. The people with money are going to be able to do too much wild shit with that.
hmm
I mean, just think about impersonation in general. Like they can already do the deep fake stuff. Like
Oh yeah.
imagine our president being a robot. I mean, this is look at like 10 years ago, the artificial. It was like Lucy or whatever, and it was basically just the casing, and she was like, "I am Lucy." You know what I mean? And now this, she's breaking up. What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, what are you talking about? Here's my thing.
She's
What is the freaking point? I'm not. I stopped myself from cussing, but I really wanted to cuss. What is the point? Are you making robots to work? Okay, make robots to work. Don't
apparently
make
not.
human robots. That doesn't make sense to me.
hmm
There's only one. There's nothing that could like I don't understand other than to just do it. Oh well, they could colonize other planets for us and stuff like that. They don't have to have a whole persona. Like, here's my real worry. When we make all of the creative things, like she's got a whole career. If we make all of the creative things in our life dominated by things that can be programmed to be perfect at it, what's going to be the drive for the average American to leave their job and go start a coaching business and a YouTube channel? When there's a robot out there that's been fed a perfect algorithm to be a perfect coach to 90% of the population and will outcompete you every time because he doesn't work for himself. He works for the guy who pushes his on button. Dude, look at everything.
Yeah.
Look at how quick cars went and the microchip. Look at the microchip. It halved in size for like I don't even remember the statistic, but like every 10 years for like 40 years. Like, just think about that. Look at this robot. If we spent another $1 billion in 10 years on that robot, ooh, I don't like it. I literally don't like it. I don't agree with it. I think it needs heavily legislated and tested because, and personally, like people need to literally be like, no. Like, I don't understand the goal. Like, what are you going to do with it other than like make a customer service bot? In which case, why even have a store? You see what I'm saying? Like, I think we have to look macro. What are we doing with our lives as a civilization where we want to get so disconnected from each other that we don't even have to interact for services? That's the real goal.
Yeah.
I mean, really, what else do you think? What do you think it could be other than creating cheap labor? What the hell else would have all of the backing and money and power behind AI to make a robot that can have a career other than some lobbying group or some stockholding group thinking they're going to make millions of dollars off of cheap labor or something like that?
Pleasure.
Which is cheap labor. Which would make labor more cheaper. You know what I mean?
Inconvenience. Yeah.
Yes, it's... You had to do it to me, man. I'm going to be salty all day.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
See, that's the thing. Like, that could be a true blessing to humanity. They could colonize Mars. But what's the point? After that, like, what are we going to do with them? They're just going to constantly be human services? And then where's that lead? Because here's my problem. The guy who made that robot, the guy who really spent all the coding and energy behind that, the real mastermind, loves that thing. Probably. That's literally his child, probably. Or her child, or their child, or the group's child, or the people who are behind that. Like that's like a baby to them, like a business, and now they're personifying it. Like, think about Facebook. Like we were talking about. I don't remember if we talked about the 2/3 of all Facebook pages in our last one. Was that you and I? Being like artificial intelligence information. It's not actually.
Metaverse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like half of the stuff in there is literal non-true, like, trash being recycled. Okay, imagine when all those are robots. Like, they already are, but in real life. And then you go everywhere and all these robots are like, no, that's not true. The People's Republic of America would never harm you. Please, move along or your social score will decrease by 5. Keep in mind, if you drop below yellow, you'll have to walk home. We like a good, happy, clean society. What happens when you walk home? When you walk home, you're more tired, which means you'll probably be more grumpy, which means you'll lose more social score. Hello, welcome to your residence. Please enter this hotel floor number that you'd like to stay at. Oh, God, I'm so sick of dealing with the robots. You can eat my... Sir, I'm sorry. Your social score has been dropped by 3 points due to that unkind remark to his public service bot. We have deducted $30 in taxes from your account. This is literally what's going to happen. Because if it's not a person there that you can hold accountable, what are you going to do? Who's going to be held accountable?
This is the best escape.
That's wild.
A good escape for, not wanting to be held accountable. This is actually probably the perfect excuse, because instead of a real able human body, you've been replaced with a machine, a robot, artificial intelligence, which does have knowledge of it may being wrong, but it won't be addressed. And you won't leave its presence with the feeling of being heard or understood.
Enriched.
You'll just what you
Loved.
just said, you'll receive instructions and directions or a statement,
Yes.
and that's it.
And what does that do to the remaining social interaction? Makes it more rigid and cold.
Hostile,
And if
angry.
it's not people that you love or your like direct family, you're gonna treat them like you're
That
conditioned to treat. And if
yeah,
they, you can't say that. You're not. Basically, it will stifle the freedom of expression because if you get upset, you lose social score. If you can't get to work on time, you lose your job. If you lose your job, you can't read books because you have to go find another damn job because your kids are starving. Like it's literally the doorway to hell. Like that's the doorway to hell. It's opening before us, and Miquela is the harbinger. Whoever created that robot, I'm sorry. Call me up, and I'll spend 5 hours convincing you. Literally, never sell your patent. Do not give this to a company that makes money. Don't. Dude, don't. Literally, don't. That's wild, dude.
I was gonna show us the second video, but we kind of already touched on each and every point. It literally just gave what you just said. It gave literally the same warning.
Yep.
It actually has a strong tone to us as human nature not to accept this. So instead of showing the video, I'll just leave the description. I'll just leave the link in the description box. But guys, I want you all to really think carefully. Now, I understand that Michaela, in her own self, in her own being, may seem and does come off as a very friendly,
Mm-hmm.
agreeable, very cooperative young teenage robot, right? But that's just her. There may be another genius out here who may want to create Android 13, and he may be a very abrasive,
Yes.
hostile, angry, divisive 28-year
Intelligent
old man,
person.
intelligent 28-year-old guy who isn't looking to get Instagram famous, or
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean, or
Or it could
or
be the
or
People's
do
Republic of China who figures out the final algorithm to have the robots create
exactly,
more robots. And then in a
exactly.
year, you see like an army of robots just walking out of the sea in People's Republic of China clothing or something like that. And they're like, we're here to. Hello, American citizens. Your country owes us a debt of $2.3 billion trillion. We're going to take your water now.
I
like,
mean, these
that's
things, it sounds.
dystopian. But
Hmm.
I mean, in my lifetime, like, look at like drones. Look at the capability you have with the drone. You can literally film like cinematic quality helicopter shots for like 200, $300,
Literally,
and you
yes,
can
you can.
recharge it and go do it again, which is
And they move
amazing.
at high speeds,
Yeah,
yes.
but think about what
So,
that means when they make that technology a fifth of the size, and then the government suddenly has these things flying above every city, and they can see 40% of the city. I don't like this. We got to take
well,
responsibility for our goddamn country. And I will cuss on that one every time because you need to hear that. Go vote. You need to like learn about what's happening and not just fall asleep through the morass of everyday culture until one day you wake up to your social score being Metaverse's new guide to how to live with AI robots in your home. Ugh, I don't like it.
well, and actually, to touch based on what you said earlier, in Dubai, there's actually two miniature airplane jetpacks that you can strap on, and you can literally fly around. I'm not talking about the ones with the water where you're boosting yourself in the air from the water within the ocean, but you can literally strap on this jetpack and fly around like Superman. And the and
That sounds dangerous.
on this man's Instagram page, he was literally flying next to the private jet, like flying next to it over the city, over the city, and I believe the flight time is like 1 hour. You can literally fly around like you're Superman. Who's gonna stop you? Who's gonna, like at that? Like, what if that person just decides to be a menace for 1 hour? What could you possibly do with aerial, aerial movements such as that? You could actually do a lot. Now, that may sound pessimistic, but you have to remember with pessimism, it just looks at things from a
Hmm.
different, more negative, but yet still possible perspective.
To be
This is
prepared,
exactly, yeah.
because there will be people out there, to Alex's point, that use that jetpack to do things that are not. Like, think about the. What's a good. I'll just say it. Think about the most ignorant person you know. You might love this person. It might be literally your brother, sister, cousin. Think about the most ignorant, unresponsible person you know, and then think about a jetpack that's $300. And imagine what they would. I mean, they'd probably just kill themselves, right? They'd probably literally end up dead. Like, most people would probably just fly their shit into a wall, being drunk or something. Like, let's take the jetpack out, Tony. I would probably do that. Like, what? I'd be
I
like,
would
listen,
too,
Brady, my brother, listen, Brady. I know this is a bad idea, but I really want to take the jetpack out right now. I know we've had a few drinks, but I have my license now, and it's really hard to police literally the air, so that's the next.
Yeah, you'd be unstoppable for that 1 hour. Nobody could
There'd be
tell
air
you
cops.
Yeah.
It creates jobs, man, but that's just like the last thing I
That's a
want is
whole
a
nother
cop that
problem.
can fly over my house.
Of course, yeah, you don't want that.
No.
Which
No,
will
no.
happen.
Because think about it
hopefully
this
not.
way. I tried to make a
Mhm.
flying bike when I was a kid, and my uncle just destroyed my dreams. He's like, yeah, but I own the airspace over my house. You can't fly over my house. How high up do you have to be before I lose airspace? And I was like, you're right. But literally, try to fly over someone the wrong house in that thing, boom, you're gone. There's people out here that would. This will be interesting. This is going to be interesting. The next 50 years of our life, we make it there. Oh wow! Listen,
So, guys,
Miquela, don't kill me.
Yeah. So we have Miquela. We are aware of what's currently happened. We understand what's going on now. We are aware that more things are to come our way. I want you all to not learn to not accept everything with open arms. Don't take everything you are
Mhm.
told or see carte blanche and feel as though that is good for you or that is what is for you. Yes, Miquela may come off very, accepting and agreeable and fun to be around, but there won't always be Miquelas, in this world. And there are all of the creators, who are able to produce a Miquela don't have the same intentions either. Some are just doing it purely for profit. Others have
Yeah.
more menacing, goals in mind. So with this, I want you all to be more careful, stay awake, stay aware, do your research, have understanding of. Remember that whatever you're looking at, you probably don't always see the full truth
Yeah.
at play there. Everything isn't always revealed so soon and so suddenly. So just use wisdom, use understanding. And I want to thank you all for viewing today's episode. Thank you, Bradley, for
Sir, I
telling
have
us how
a,
you really feel.
I have a good way to lead us out. So
Go
whenever
ahead.
you're ready.
Well, my name is Alex Crowley. Thank you for watching today's episode. Make sure to click the comment. Excuse me. I got to get better at that.
We're working
Make sure
on
to
it.
hit the
Because that's the
subscribe
sale
button.
where we have to ask for the support. Please watch our content. You know what I mean? But that's
I
how
literally
you
gotta-
know we're doing this for the from the heart, because it's hard for us to try to sell ourselves. Because if you really enjoy it,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Make sure to hit the like button, comment. Make sure to
Okay.
comment down below, subscribe, and share the video.
okay. I'm gonna add some music to this after, so Alex, just get in the mood, man. The viewers will enjoy this. Okay.
Go.
We'll leave you with this story. Just close your eyes if you're a viewer. You're in your car. Both hands on the leather wheel. It's cold. It's winter here. It's heating up. Driving down the road. 10 minutes late for work already, so you decide to speed a little bit. As soon as you begin to speed, the fraction of a second that your speedometer goes over the speed limit, you see the lights. There they are. You see them. Whoop, whoop. That's all right. I knew better. I should have left earlier. Pull over to the side of the road. It's 2040. Roll down to your window with the touchpad on the middle of the screen. That's standard in most cars. Now, you can prepare your registration, your license. It's all in the dashboard of the car, virtual. But you notice something as he approaches your vehicle. His movements are a little tight, a little stringent. Did you do something more wrong than you thought? You look around the car as he's walking up to your window, and finally he leans over. And as he does, you hear a strange... It's almost like mechanics. From the face of this officer, you see movement. It seems natural. The eyebrows move. They're inquisitive. Do you know why I pulled you over today? What is this guy's problem? And then you realize it. Last night you were watching the news. The President Ford Hemlock Trump Biden the fourth emperor of our new United States of Republic Robotics, has just instituted a new law. And here's his, his address to the state. Hello, people. We know that distrust in police over the last 20 years has grown to the point where we simply don't trust the decision-making of human beings in that position. The law needs to be enforced strictly and without racial bias, without presuppositions, and tolerance for all faiths. The crowd cheers. With that, I'm introducing the new head of staff for the police of our sweet city of wherever you live town, USA. The same mechanical noises are sounded. You heard those last night. Hello. I am Rodney, Chief of Police. Pleasure to serve you. It seems that we've come to a place in society where we've ostracized our communication so much, we don't even trust ourselves to govern ourselves. And so we've given up the ultimate power, the power of responsibility. And as you hand your registration card over to the police to scan, you realize it's not even a human in there. The society that you lived in is now doesn't really exist. It's a faint memory. It's a shadow. Without the human connection, there is no humanity. You can open your eyes, and now then you go watch Miquela. Remember this, because if it's the government behind the button that says detain, arrest, shoot, kill, it will get pressed. If it's not your cousin, if it's not your brother, if it's not someone you grew up with and you know, it will get pressed. More so than it does now. If you think what we're living in now is some dystopian, give more of your responsibility and power away. And I guarantee you will understand why people come to the U.S. and immigrate here from countries that are being domestically instanced in things that would lead to that type of dystopia. And with that, rather gruesome but illustrative tale, I appreciate you guys. It's a rather somber tone to leave out on, but I think that's good because it's going to leave you with something to think about. I'm Bradley Moore, and this is my dear friend Alex Crowley, and I want to thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.